welcome to the Landy Rover shed, where today we're trying to work out if I did stuff up with this battery tray and air filter holder. It's been installed in my way. I couldn't find any information. I have welded it on, which was probably a bad thing to do. It should have been bolted, but hey, that it is what it is. But today's problem is when I steer, this steering rod is actually hitting this part of the tray. And it's never hitting on the way back. It's not hitting this part, so this part seems to be okay. So the problem is this way. The other problem I have is it steers too much to the left, I think, and not enough to the right. So I'm wondering if this is blocking it. It might be a monumental stuff up by me, or it might be a wider problem. So we'll have a bit of an investigate. And if it's an embarrassing stuff up by me, there might be a few bad words, but we'll fix it up today. Let's take a look underneath and see if there's any other reasons why this could be happening. Okay, I think I've worked out what's going on here, and you can tell by the side of this tyre. What's happening when I do a full left lock, it's actually rubbing against the leaf spring. And on this side, it's getting pretty close to rubbing on that leaf spring as well. There's a tiny bit of a marking on the tyre. When I go to the other side, it's not going anywhere near as far. We're probably about 15 centimeters away from the leaf spring that side, and probably the same on this side. So that says to me the steering box or the steering is not in the center when I think it's in the center. So this will be a bit of a Google to try and work out what's going on, but I'll let you know the fix because someone else may have this same issue. Okay, what I think is happening is this steering box is out of alignment. So when the wheels are centered or straight or semi-straight on this vehicle, I don't think they're ever really going to be straight. The relay is in a good position. The relay arm is at 3 o'clock, so that's not too bad. I think the issue is with this. This is not actually centered when the road wheels are centered. I think it's to do with this arm down here. And yeah, we'll have a look. We'll make this up. There's not many videos on YouTube, and there's not much on Google either of articles. So we'll see what we can do. First off, we'll take the air filter off. We'll get a bit more access, and we'll try and work out a plan of attack. Luckily, it's one of the easiest jobs on a Land Rover to take off the air filter, although this one was rusted when I received it, so it's not the easiest, but she comes off pretty quickly. Okay, challenge number one is I don't have a socket large enough for this one, so we'll have to go to the shops and fix that. I think this is the Imperial version of 30mm, whatever that would be. We'll get a section. We've also got one of these locking washers on there, which is a large washer that they bend over the corner on, so we'll have to get that off. So yeah, once again, in typical Landy Rover style, a simple job means you've got to go and buy some more tools, and it's probably not going to be as easy as I think, but we'll work it out as we go along. Okay, we've got this locking washer bent back, just to give us a bit of room to get the socket in there. And this nut is a 1 3/16 inch. So about 30mm, but I went for an Imperial size 1 3/16. And we'll see if we can get this off. Okay. This calls for the big breaker bar. I have a 2-foot long breaker bar which I bought for hub nuts on the V.combi. Let's see how this goes. Well, I have the nut off, or coming off. It did take heat in the end, the blue torch. and then a breaker bar. It's actually 3 feet long. Took the full force of that to get the nut to move. So she's loose. Don't rate my chances of getting this off very easily. It might need a puller, but we'll get this nut off. We'll take a look. We'll make sure the threads are okay. The nut's a bit chewed up, but yeah, we'll probably be able to salvage that one. And but yeah, we'll probably need a puller to get this off, but we'll see how we go. Okay, next step, we now have a puller separator thingy on there. Not much room in there. Luckily, I mean, this one did fit. I was trying to use a smaller one, but they just couldn't get around the shaft, and there's little sticky out bits. There's probably a technical name for it, but there's sticky out bits on either side. So the pullers, smaller pullers, wouldn't go on there. This one's on, pretty secure. Landy Rover tip though. I learned that with the combi, that if you're using one of these, actually put the nut back on. Just put it on so it's flush, otherwise you could mushroom the head, and then a constructive day turns into an absolute headache once you can't get the bolt back on. So we'll tighten this up, we'll see if we can separate it. Hopefully there'll be a satisfying pop that you quite often get with these things. But yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, after about 1.5 hours dismantling half the engine or the ignition using blowtorches, I cannot get this drop arm, or whatever it's called, to budge. It broke the bearing puller, it broke the ball joint separator, and she will not budge. She is on there. I've tried WD-40, I've tried heat. I'm trying not to use too much heat, as there is the fuel pump and the fuel glass. So, change of tactic. Okay, so we have 3 issues. We've got the first one here. This could do with a bit of a cut out of it, just to stop this steering rod from hitting it. This needs to come back. So I'm thinking undo this bolt, lift it up, probably with a puller of some sort. And then we should be able to lift this one back just to make it a bit more of a 90 degrees to the rod when it's at a central or a straight level. And that should hopefully stop that from hitting this. Other issue, the drag link is too long. We need to shorten it by about 1.5 centimeters. So here goes, we'll see what happens. Okay, first modification done. I'll tidy that up. I'll give it a sand and a bit of a smooth, and a paint with some epoxy or some zinc paint. Pretty crude, pretty ugly, but we won't see that. The wing's in the way. She'll be right. Now we're going to move on to this. I think this is actually causing some of the problem. When there is a full right lock or full left lock, this is now hitting into this. This is when the wheels are pretty much level or straight. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to just check that the steering wheel is centered when the wheels are straight. We'll see how that goes. Pulling up this arm with this wonderful contraption. It's I think it's a bearing separator or a puller or a ball joint separator, something. Anyway, it's a clever piece of kit. Does a great job of just lifting things out from the center. Well, that was easy. I was actually expecting a bit of a fight with that one. But okay, so this arm is now off with the steering arm. We've made a bit of a doctored shape there just to try and stop that from catching. Now we're going to see if this steering wheel is straight. Full right lock, tape on the bottom so I know where I am. So we're 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns. That's as far as it goes. So 3 turns. So in theory, if I turn back 1.5, the steering box will be in the middle, and then we'll look at the arm on that transfer. So here goes. Here's 1, and then here's half. So that 1.5 turns has now made this arm at about the 3 o'clock position, which sort of makes sense, I suppose. Before it was about a 2, so as soon as I was doing the left turn, this was moving too far forward and hitting this. In theory, if I put that back, the steering box is now halfway, the steering arm is now halfway, and then that just leaves the drag link for us to do to get that to the correct length that's in the Haynes manual. So I'll put this back on. I'm going to use a good old-fashioned hammer to get that back on. As long as the splines are lined up, I can't see that causing any issues. We'll get the bolt back in there loosely for now, and we'll then look at the drag link. This drag link, according to the Haynes manual, should be 30.182 inches, which is 782.62 millimeters. I'm going to ignore the 0.62, and I'm probably just going to go for 783 millimeters, and that's measured from the middle of the ball point to the middle of this ball point by the looks of it. Never done this before, making it up, following the book, and yeah, we'll see how we'll go. I'll undo the nut over here. We'll turn that ball joint in. There's quite a bit of thread in there, so we'll get that down to the 782 or 783 as the Haynes manual says, and we'll see what the steering is like. Okay, after swearing and bad language, I had to take this drag link off. Just undid those. It comes off pretty easily. I didn't need a separator, just persuaded it with a big hammer. I then tightened these up. This thread was out quite a lot. There's now only 5 or 6 threads on there. There was about 11 before. Just tighten that up. That screwed this in. I put the bolt back in, and yeah, that seems to be about it. Bit of swearing, more from when I hit my hand on some metal and caught it on the leaf springs, but it was actually a pretty easy job. This tracking rod, I'm going to review that one as well. I'll take a look. I think this is too long as well, but there's no thread showing on those. So we'll have a look, I'll measure it, and we'll work out what to do next. Okay, crudely measuring this track rod, according to the Haynes manual, it should be 1030.3 millimeters. We're 1030.8, so that's pretty good. That's handy, because I didn't fancy trying to make those threads go in further and taking the angle grinder out again. So fingers crossed the track rod is the right length. This drag link was too long, which I assume was causing this wheel to turn too much when I was turning to the left. So we'll see how we go. Might even go for a bit of a drive, and we can see how the changes have worked. Okay, I think from this side, when I'm full left lock, from the tyre to the leaf spring is 4.5 centimeters. Before that was rubbing, as you could see from the tyre there. And full left lock is 4.5 centimeters from this part of the tyre to the leaf spring on the other side. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm very surprised. Okay, and then on the full right lock, we're 5 centimeters from the tyre to the leaf spring. So yeah, 0.5 centimeter out compared to the other side. We'll just check what the left hand side is, distance from the leaf spring now that we're full right lock. And full right lock, we're 5, yeah, tiny bit over 5.1. Oh, what's 6 millimeters between friends? We'll see how she goes when she goes for a test drive. So full left lock is 4.5 centimeters, full right lock is 5 centimeters. So 0.5 centimeter difference between full left lock and full right lock. better than it was before, because you can see the tyre was rubbing. At least we fixed the rubbing, and we're actually getting a lot more of a turn as well on the right hand side, which is what we wanted. So was this a stuff up on my behalf? I think it was a mixture. I stuffed up. I've put this tray far too low down. We've doctored that. We took the good old angle grinder to that. We've centered the steering box. That was out a small amount. We've centered this this steering arm as well, and we shortened the drag link to the correct size. So in theory, apart from a bit of wheel alignment to get that 0.1 or 1 millimeter on that side, I'm pretty happy. I'm going to say that was a bit of a success, a bit of a wheel alignment lesson for me. Bit of bad word, bit of bad language, but yeah, very happy. We'll take her for a drive. It'll be next weekend now we take her for a drive, as it's getting a bit rainy. And thank you very much for watching. That's wheel alignment, Land Rover style, with a bit of angle grinder. TLC to the metal over there with an angle grinder. If in doubt, angle grind it. Thanks for watching.